Monday, April 3rd, 2023. The land acknowledgement. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped with rich history in the First Nations, such as the Hidawanaronk and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past, present, promoting the stewardship of the lands in which we live in. Point 3, there's declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Okay. All right, we're going to adopt the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Councillor Sentence and Mr. Atkinson. All right. All in favor? Opposed? All right, we're passed. Okay, adoption of the minutes, 5.1 PTRC 2-2023 from Monday, March 6, 2023. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Mr. Vandermas and a seconder, Councillor Sentence. All in favor? Opposed? Or passed? Okay, we have a few presentations today. Our first presenter is Mr. James Fraser from Niagara Indoor Pickleball Association, and about repurposing of the White Arena. I will call. All right.
Hello.
The floor is yours.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you today?
Oh, any better I'd be you. Listen, I'm Andrew, speaking on behalf of our group here, and I'm extremely excited to be here. Thank you for putting us in your meeting here. We are a huge community of pickleball players. We use these cool little paddles here to hit a ball back and forth at each other, and it's a lot of fun. It's something that the moment you play, you can't stop, and it's kind of incredible. I started back in October, and it's been something I've almost played every day since. Yes, I do have a job too. I do make it work between both. We're here today to ask for the arena, the older arena down in downtown Thorold, to repurpose it to use it completely for pickleball. There's 3 reasons why that I just want to point out to benefit us and you as a community. The first reason is it is for everyone and anyone to play, all genders, all ages, kids, adults, especially seniors. As a lot of seniors obviously are retired and enjoying their life as they've done a lot of time working, pickleball has been a sport that really intrigues seniors to play, and it's active. It's not hard on the body too much, but it gives them something to do. So as a community playing pickleball on a consistent basis, there's many areas in Niagara entirely that is specific to just renting to all kinds of sports. What we're asking is that we dedicate the Thorold Arena to specifically pickleball for the purpose that we'd use it all day long. Not only can we attract the seniors and anyone after work at night, but also students that are wanting to learn how to play pickleball, whether it's college, university, or even high school, even junior school. We could do camps, from training camps to boot camps of just how to play in the basics of that. The second thing is it'll help the community. Thorold is a central kind of thing for all the Niagara region entirely. So when we talk about bringing people in, we host different things like tournaments, leagues, training camps. We've got referee training, all kinds of things that'll bring people into the Thorold area, which then supports the people around Thorold, whether it's the pizza companies or coffee shops or even just regular general stores that are around the area. We can have, as an example, Niagara Lake is hosting a tournament that's hosting about almost 300 people that are coming from all over the world to come play. I think the furthest person was Australia. which is kind of crazy considering they're literally on the other side of the world. But it's pretty cool. And pickleball does that for the community, right? It brings people together. So as we have these tournaments and these leagues, people will constantly be coming to enjoy that for weekends, which will then bring more community base around the Thorold area. I know how much work you guys have done to the downtown area to make it look really, really nice. And we just want to improve that and constantly use that space there. And I had a third one and now I'm blanking. Bear with me, this is the first time I've ever done this. This is fun.
It's a first time for a few of us up here as well.
Yeah,
so
hey, well, great.
don't
I'm
be
not the only
nervous.
person. That's awesome. The biggest thing, guys, is we will be using this building all day long. We are looking for a long-term lease. We don't want to just have it for 3 nights out of the week or 4 hours once a week. We want the building to be used on a consistent basis from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. In comparison, there's a building just over the border called Pickleball Island that is open all day long. They actually have a lot of Canadians that go there because it's strictly dedicated to pickleball. So there's 7 courts there that are dedicated, obviously, to pickleball. It's in a warehouse. And Canadians are going there to play. So it brings me to the understanding that if we had that here, we could truly have something huge. A dedicated pickleball place could bring so much to the community, not just the Thorold, but also the Niagara region entirely. I hosted myself a tournament at the YMCA on the 26th of March. We had 40 people show up, and most of them were from out of town. We have a large group of people that play here that just need a dedicated place to hone in on, to enjoy the awesome sport of pickleball. I hope that gives you a good understanding of what we're looking for. We know that it'll benefit the downtown area, and we also want to just be a part of the Thorold community and the Niagara region. I'm open to any questions that you guys may have.
All right, thanks for the presentation. I'll leave the floor open to any committee members that have any questions. I'll start right directly to my left here with Mr. Vandermas.
Oh, thank you, James. It's an interesting proposal. What would you require in terms of alterations to the building?
I'm glad you asked. My name is Andrew, by the way. Jim's standing over there. He's the better looking one. But that's a great question. So there's a couple things that we would need. I've been in the building myself. So the big thing is the floor. The floor is very important. We need something that's clean, something that's of a surface that we don't have to worry about anyone slipping or sliding on. Lines for the pickleball, but also lighting is very important as well. In a perfect world, we'd love to have heating and AC, of course, and for longevity, an area for folks to be able to sit and lounge and hang out after or during pickleball tournaments or even just during regular play.
I had one other question, if I may. You realize there's quite a bit of pickleball played through the TCAG here in Thorold, the Thorold Community Activity Group.
Yep.
Have you spoken to them about this at all?
Me personally, I have not. I have been a part of a lot of the community of pickleball through Niagara and the Lake, as well as Welland, Port Colborne, and Font Hill, and Pelham area. I've been part of a lot of about those. I haven't connected with many people, but I'm sure I've played with them throughout the time that I've been playing pickleball. I know that there's a lot of spaces that are being rented currently to play pickleball, and by no means do we want to take away from them. It's just what we have found is that there's too many players sitting. There's too many players that are coming to play, which is great, but most of us are paying to play, but we're not playing. So we found that there's just an overflux of people on a consistent basis. I hope that answers your question.
Do you have any other questions? Councillor Sentence?
Just thinking about the overall space, how many courts do you think you could fit within that arena without altering the actual size of it?
That's a great question. So in the arena that has the boards currently up right now, we could fit very comfortably 6. If we take those out and level the floor to make sure everything's even, we could put 9 courts in. Yeah.
Mr. McCulloch?
Just curious, is that a spectator sport as well? Like, will there need to be spectator seating at all, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So 100%. So as far as that's concerned, those are something that we would take out at our own time. So for example, if we're having a tournament, we would set up chairs ourselves. We wouldn't have them set up 100% of the time. The reason for that is because we enjoy the space. So we'd have it a little bit more controlled if we had spectators. But yes, we would definitely need, we would have to implement that space, but would probably be movable chairs, not so much stands and things like that. Great question.
Councillor Sentence?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I'm all for that staying as a dry surface to be used. My personal opinion. I think we have a report coming back sometime with our different options that can be used there. When you say all day, every day, is it you're saying from 8 to, or 9 to 10 Monday through Sunday? Do you think you can use it? Because there are other groups looking. I love the pickleball idea. I think it's one of the fastest growing sports in North America. So anything that gets people moving, but we are looking, I believe, at different things. So I would suggest, if you are looking at this, maybe talk to the TCAG too, and maybe there's some partnership you can do with them where you're running it with it. They don't have a lot of players right now, so it might be a great partnership.
Ken, I appreciate the question, and you bring up a great point. It is the largest growing sport in North America. Currently in the States, there's 32 million players, just in the United States. In Canada, it's a constant growing sport as well. Obviously, the States always succeeds our numbers over Canada, but our connection to the sport is just significant. So to answer your question 100%, we want to connect everybody from pickleball from all different groups. It's not specific to anybody. I want to make sure that's very clear. This is a home base for all pickleball players to come and really connect and have a dedicated space. It's funny, this is a brand new racket. I was trying to look for a racket today, and I could not find one. Everyone was out, which means they were bought. It's a good problem to have because it just shows how often people are thinking about pickleball and playing pickleball. To answer your question about the usage of it, so yes, our goal is to use it day in, day out, Monday to Sunday. The whole week.
Yeah, I had to think about it too when I said it. So yeah,
when I'm saying
7 days,
really
I got it.
good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Sunday to Sunday, we plan to use it every day, all day. And the benefit to that is that a lot of retirees obviously aren't working, so they use it during the day. Then you may have perhaps after-school programs or perhaps college or university students that might come play a little bit more in the later afternoon. But then you have everyone that's working that comes and plays later for leagues or pickleball.
Okay.
So yes, it is something that would be we would need dedicated to pickleball because it's that big.
Okay.
It's just something that we would definitely need. But thank you for your question.
Thanks for your presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Woods?
Not really a question, more of like a personal observation. I'm a member of the Thorold Community Activities Group, and pickleball is only available around the lunchtime hour, and I work from 9 to 5, so I've never had the ability to actually play pickleball. So if we have somewhere else in the city that offers it at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, I would be easily able to go to it. And where I live, I could just walk to the facility. So Something like that, whereas a community group, great partnership, they offer a lot in what you can do there, but they also have different classes and they advocate for all different types of activities, not just one specific sport. So you'd be limited partnering with them and using their facility. So it's a good venture in terms of having multiple facilities, but I think it'd be great to have something specific for pickleball because it is growing. It's it's leaked into my Instagram reels now, so it's everywhere.
I mean, they are
Now you-
listening, guys, so that's probably why. But no, I can appreciate that, Ian. And you bringing that up, a great point to that is that there isn't a lot of nighttime pickleball. There's sometimes open gym at the YMCA or something like that you could possibly connect with a few friends or buddies and go play there. But for the generalization of it all, you really don't have a lot of spaces that are at nighttime play because you're sharing it with so many other players. For example, the Meridian Center in Pelham has a beautiful court. It's a little annoying just because of the sun glare into the gym, but it's dedicated for basketball. It's mainly used for basketball, which is great. I don't think it's a bad thing. But for pickleball players, they don't really have the access so much at night. They have a few nights that they do it, but not the access that pickleball players truly need. And I think that's why we really need it. I know there's other competition that's out there as far as wanting to take over the arena. One would be ball hockey. My argument to that is I love ball hockey. I've played a lot of sports in my day. The only thing is ball hockey is done either way on the weekends or at night. So you're still having all that space not being used. And because we're two different floors, it's just not compatible to have a multi-purpose use in that case. And because we'll have so much use out of the building, and so many players playing, we'll just have it busy all the time, which is what we need.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Sydney.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Marcia is online and she has a question.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Thank you, Sydney. I didn't think they'd see me. Hi, Andrew. So I have played pickleball. I do enjoy it. So I have a couple questions for you.
Please.
It's the Niagara Indoor Pickleball Association. So how much are they feeling that they will be able to afford for a monthly lease for this facility?
I'm very glad you asked that question. As far as a monthly lease, so when we run pickleball, it's not something that we're trying to get rich. This isn't a sport where that's a thing. So to give you an actual answer on how much we would need it for, I can't say I have the answer to that because nothing's set in stone as far as income-wise. When it comes to, I'm sorry, I don't necessarily have the answer to that just from the perspective of I'm not sure what it truly would cost as far as, what my income would traditionally be. I have projections, but nothing's obviously set in stone. So if I were to make an educated guess, between 3,000 to 5,000.
To have 7 days a week full availability?
That's correct.
Okay. And then my other question is, in the past, we've had other groups come, like River Lions, wanting to use it for their practice facilities, and they were willing to contribute to the cost of the renovations, so that the taxpayers, it wasn't on the taxpayers of Thorold necessarily. They were going to contribute. Is this something that your association is willing to do also, is to contribute some of the cost to help get this facility up and running to the needs that you need specifically?
So I just want to make sure I understand the question. So what you're asking is that, as an example, the River Lions helped contribute towards the renovation cost for the Meridian Center. Is that correct?
No, when they were we were considering having them come to the White as their practice facility.
Okay. Yes.
And they were going to pay for the flooring to be put in because
Okay.
it's specific to basketball.
Yeah.
So is that a cost that you guys are willing to put up and say, hey, we'll cover the cost of the floor because that's something specific that we need?
That's a great question. I think that would have to be a conversation left for, I suppose, the more kind of. That's a great question. It's not.
Sorry.
No,
It's just because then you have
I
like
love it.
a fight in it, right? Like you have
Yep.
something you guys contributed and you just don't walk away from it.
No, and I completely see what you're saying. From that perspective, I'm a young man, age 31 with 3 kids and a beautiful wife and a single income. So I don't necessarily have that sort of money to contribute as far as a floor is concerned. However, what I can guarantee you is that we're not here to go away. We're here to stay long term. So I don't know if that helps. What I can tell you is I'm 100% willing to contribute to cleaning the facility, to making sure that it stays in good shape, and that we take care of the building as you have currently taken care of it. I cannot say that I can fork that kind of money. That kind of money to help out there. We're not. We're running this as a for-profit, but again, it all starts at the bottom, right?
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thanks, Marcia. Next, Mr. Woods.
Do you have any idea of like how much it would cost to actually do the renovations at that facility to maximize your potential?
If we wanted to do everything we wanted to do to the building, I mean, the cost would be between, I would say, $4 to $5 million. If we wanted to do everything we wanted to make this a dream building, to have everything we wanted. I think to get started, we would need the floor, lights, and some sort of heating would be required. So I'm not sure what that would cost per se for all of that, but to do everything we would want to do would be between $4 and $5 million to get it all done.
Andrew, do you want me to address that?
Sure.
I'm the real Jim Fraser. We were looking at basically that being funded by the Trillium Foundation, much like the courts in Pelham were done. I think the Trillium Foundation came up with about $500,000 to redo that, $250,000 to redo the tennis courts. And our revenue that we anticipate for pickleball would be close. When I get up to 9 courts, it would be $200,000 a year. Now, if we run that as a business, we would like to keep some of that, but we don't want to take funds away from the city of Thorold. We don't want them to incur a whole bunch of costs wrongly, if you want. So we would work with you very much on a favorable lease that would cover the costs. Keep in mind that this is repurposing an old building through grants. And I forgot what I was going to say. So, I think that's about it, if that answers your question.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Okay. I did have a question myself. Basis this is going to be sort of for the region, not necessarily just for servicing Thorold residents. Is this a case where you could actually ask for the region to maybe provide some assistance in the renovation costs? Because the architectural report from HDR does state that, I mean, they need to update, the signages, there's accessibility issues, there's no insulation, no temperature control, heating, HVAC, the roof needs attention. There's a lot of issues that need to happen with this building, and to spend that kind of money as a small city to service the Pickleball Association just seems, it seems like a lot of onus on the taxpayers of Thorold. Through you, Ms. Hanson, to Jeff, what would be sort of the process for them maybe addressing the region? Then the facility could be, you know, partially operated as a regional facility, not just as a municipality. Just a question. I mean, just...
That would be good. We'd be totally open to that. I don't know how you quite do that, you know.
I'm asking the same.
I've been in conversations with Sam Oosterhoff on it, and he was in favor of it. And he was instrumental in helping us get the Centennial Courts built, so, through grants.
Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
And the minimum cost probably, Kingston redid their floor, a cement floor, for about $100,000 with 5 layers of a rubberized coating, and then plus the painted lines and court markings. That was for 6 courts. So we would be looking at a minimum of $100,000 to do that. Lighting would also have to be improved. I don't know about air conditioning. I don't even know if the place is heated.
It's not. There's no insulation. There's no temperature control. There's nothing of the sort.
So, you know, that's where the big dollars would come into play. Yes. You know, but we have people now that play throughout the winter outside, believe it or not, shoveling off the snow and playing outside in the cold. So,
okay, thanks. Jeff,
through you, Mr. Chair. The region of Niagara does not have a formal mandate to provide recreation services, so that's left with the area municipalities. However, one of the deliverables that is to come from the Canada Games event is the creation of a nonprofit group called Sport Niagara, which is intended to act as a catalyst to help develop these types of programs for municipalities and seek out additional funding from provincial and federal sources. And although it's still in its formative stages, and I really don't know exactly how it's going to play out, I think at this time the region will tell you that if the municipality is able to generate enough interest and access some of the grants that are provided and private sponsorship, that they would support it in principle, but I don't imagine that they would have funding available to make improvements to any capital upgrades to that facility.
Thanks. Because I believe that was partially the issue with the decommissioning of it as an arena, was that there was just the amount of upgrades needed to the building kind of outweighed what they were going to do with it. So to reopen it as another facility, there's going to be costs that occur with it. So, okay.
Well, there's also cost to tear it down.
Oh, I believe that's why it's still standing.
You know, we like the building because it has nice high ceilings and would accommodate pickleball very well. And being central, it's another good point.
Yeah.
You know, plus the fact that it services the seniors and retirees community in a big way. And that's a huge number of people.
Yes. Okay, do we have any further questions for James or Andrew? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. It was very informative, and I learned a little bit more about pickleball than I didn't know yesterday or the day before, and I'm sure I'm going to learn more about it in the coming weeks and months.
You're very much welcome to come out to places like the Meridian Center in Font Hill.
Yep.
And or the Hague in St. Catharines. They have pickleball at the arena on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. basically from 12 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can see how busy it is.
Do
And you can also see the enjoyment on the people's faces.
Yeah, so you say there was roughly, what was 300 members. Is that like at any given time you could have 300 of them in the arena at once? Or is
No.
it? Okay, I just trying to get my numbers based on the spaces provided.
Overall, in Niagara, of the three groups, you know, you've got Pelham, you've got Welland, and you've got Niagara-on-the-Lake. And that's over 500 people that are actively playing.
What does a membership typically cost? Is it a membership base or is it an hourly rate base? Is it a...
The membership is, you know, The Hague charges like $6 per person for 3 hours.
Okay.
Centennial Park, it's $50 for a senior to play for the summer. You know, $100 for a working adult, if you like. You know, membership, if you had a good facility, people will pay a good membership to be there and play on a safe, comfortable surface. A lot of the problems with pickleball is the balls go from court to court, there's no divider. And that causes hazard, tripping, interruption of play, and it takes away from the enjoyment of the game. So again, your arena would be perfect for that because there's more than enough room to put dividers in place to make sure that it's safe and workable.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Next, item 6.2, we have the Thorold Theatre Allenberg proposal. I'll call on Mr. Dan Willis to present on the Thorold Community Theatre. The floor is yours.
Is that on now? I'll do my line again. And I am an actor. I tried to distribute our presentation package. Did everybody receive that today? Everybody had a chance to look at that? Great, because that includes a lot of our background and saves us a little time in going through that now. Has anybody here been to a Thorold Community Theatre production at Trinity United Church in the past? We've been there 30-odd years. And did you enjoy yourself? Did you enjoy yourself? Yeah.
Immensely.
Good. So thank you very much for having us here. Joining me tonight is our president of the executive, Teresa Chubak, Marianne O'Neill Park, our vice president, and our longtime executive member and now ambassador, Marilyn Colbert. So we are interested in the Allenberg Community Center, and how we got here was when we first realized that our current home at Trinity United Church was not really reliable in a longer term context. We felt it important to move very quickly in order to find a new home. We had sent out some emails and letters to different levels of government, our representatives on committees and councils and in legislatures, et cetera, looking for some help. And we quickly got a letter back from the mayor of Thorold indicating that he would like us to look into the Allenberg Community Center, and that's why we are here. We've looked at the community center on a number of occasions, and we're very, very excited about the location. We think that with bringing it up to code and not much more, we would be able to move in and make it our long-term home. Part of what Thorold Community Theatre does, in addition to our theater programming, is we participate in a lot of community events for the community of Thorold. We're very involved, having been given the award of Citizen of the Year at one point. We donate to Thorold seniors. Community Care gets cash from us, and that sort of thing. So we are, members of the Board of Trade and that sort of thing. We're an ingrained, not-for-profit organization here in Thorold. And when we came up with our little lease issue, we started looking everywhere. But it quickly became clear to us and our membership that we indeed want to stay in Thorold. The community's been very good to us. We've made it our home for a number of years, and we want to stay here. So that's why we're looking at Thorold Community Theatre. So I'm going to just flip to the page in the presentation of where we are today. And I've mentioned that our long tenancy at Trinity United Church cannot be depended upon. So we're seeking a new permanent home. We have a critical storage issue. We don't have a deadline for moving out of the church, but we are considering our own deadlines. We are making our own deadlines, and that we need to find a place for our stuff very, very quickly, and we want to move on that. That's a real high point on our agenda. That includes our chairs, our lights, our sounds, our tools, our curtains, props, and some flats. And if I had to put a number on that, it would be, we could probably fit that in a 40-foot container with plenty of room. So that would be kind of what we would need in cubic feet to store all of our stuff. So we're looking for that very rapidly. In the theater area, we require a large hall for seating, a stage with entrances from the wings, capacity for a lighting grid, dressing room. Some things that would be nice to have is we would like to install our curtains, which we've recently purchased, big red velvet curtains. We would like to set up a sound booth of some permanence. We can operate on a banquet table, but a sound booth of some permanence would be nice to have. And we are interested as well in some leasehold improvements on our own. I did include a slide on theater upgrades, and we have in the last 11 years spent some $92,000 at the church to upgrade. And that it really speaks to our desire to provide as professional a theater experience as we can for our audiences. The chairs are well padded. They all link together. They're comfortable, also in red. We put up an outdoor digital sign in conjunction with the church. We built lofts on the wings of the church. And again, all of this indicates I hope this indicates to you that we are a good tenant interested in making the space as good as it can be for the audience. And I think in most instances we succeed. Also in the presentation, you will see a list of what we've called our immediate needs, and this pertains to the building itself. And I'm sure that many of you are aware of some of these issues, and they're not news. The roof leaks, bathrooms we would like upgraded. The kitchen is something that we use for concession, so we'd like that brought up to commercial code. We have leak damage on a kitchen wall. Something that is, for us, the electrical panel from the back of the stage we would like moved, and some extra plugs into the shop room for our carpenter shop. So those are our immediate needs that would make the venue suitable for us to move into, and that would be just moving into. Things like lighting grids, while important, we can stumble through until we're established and until we've worked on some of the other issues for the building, like getting up the curtains and that sort of thing. We can work without curtains if we have to, but these are the things that we have designed that are necessary in the near term. Since we have been on our journey, we've had a couple of other groups indicate to us that they would be interested in riding on our coattails as we develop the space. There's a youth acting and theater group that would like to also be engaged with us as we move forward with this proposal. There's also another group that creates and provides lunches for certain populations, and they are also interested in finding space with us in this area. And I would expect, given our long presence in the community, that we will be approached by other organizations that would want to work with us and use the space itself. We're looking for long-term rental or a lease. So we would consider proposals from the city of Thorold that are partial occupation, where we would share it. We haven't decided what the best way to go is from our position, but we may be an anchor tenant. We may also consider being ones that would handle scheduling and that sort of thing, as well as perhaps intake and usage of the facility. Those are blue sky thinking ideas, but that's kind of where we're coming from. Long-term, well-run company looking for an anchor position in the Allenburg Community Center. That's my presentation, I think. Did I do okay? I think I got it, yeah.
Great, thank you. I'll leave the floor open to any questions here from the committee. Councillor Sentence? First off, through you, Mr. Chair, I don't want to lose you in the city of Thorold. That's for sure. I am more sports-minded, but the thing that happens in Thorold is to say, well, what about the arts? What about and we probably don't have enough of that already, and to lose you would be a bad thing. The other thing is, and I don't want to get myself in trouble here, I'm kind of getting giddy with you wanting to come into the Allenburg Community Center. It could be a perfect fit. We've had an enormously hard time trying to find a fit for the committee there and putting somebody in there. This sounds fantastic. I didn't know about this ahead of time, so until just recently. So I don't want to say when can you move in, but I would definitely like to look into this further. This is really good news. So sorry, Jeff, I didn't.
Concerning when we'd like to move in, that is in the very near future. So
Just
any expedition we
for
can
the
do.
committee's sake, we've had a lot of trouble trying to find out what to do with this space.
I hear it sits empty on the regular.
Yeah, it's been worse and worse as it goes on. So
Right.
yeah, this could be fantastic. Thank you for your presentation.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Hanson?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Marcia also has her hand raised online.
So I'm not seeing Marcia on our screen here. Okay, Marcia, Miss Coppola, you're up.
Thank you. So I just have a few questions. Has the Allenburg Community Center Board of Management been approached yet on this issue, and how do they feel about the lease agreement?
They are up next on our meeting agenda, and I believe the date is the 5th. Wednesday we'll be meeting with them.
Awesome. Okay, and then just a couple more, just for clarification mainly. Love what you guys do. So, so in your presentation, you had the leaseholder improvement. Those are things you're looking from the city, the leakage, things like that, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then the section where it had theater upgrades and it had all the listing, and that was 92,000. That has nothing to do with the city investment. That's things that you guys have done over time. Like, you're not looking for us to give that to you, correct?
That is correct. That includes leasehold improvements that we've made at the church. And in addition to a number of those items are actually portable and not fixtures, and they'll be coming with us.
Perfect. Yeah, I just wasn't sure in the presentation if that's what you were looking for additionally. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate all that you guys do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Capola. Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Vanderboss.
I don't have a question. I'd like to thank you for your presentation. I've always enjoyed the shows I've been to, and it would certainly be a terrible thing to lose your organization here in Thorold. If I could, I would like to make a motion that this committee recommend this project to council pending staff report.
Yeah, we have a seconder, and Mr. Atkinson. Okay, through you, Ms. Hanson, for a report coming from the city.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe you could make a recommendation for City Council to direct staff to do a report on it. Would be the process for it.
Okay.
Because it would be council who would have to direct staff to make the report.
All right. I did have just a question, Stan. Again, thank you for the presentation. Maybe is there any, prior to this sort of engagement with the theater, was there any intentions prior to that to renovating the Allenbury Community Center to upgrade the leaky walls and all of the deficiencies that they're seeing in the building? Mr. Holman?
Mr. Chair, there were a number of improvements that were presented to council. They were moved to the deferred list. I think one of the reasons why is because the programming of the building really needs to be confirmed before we make those improvements. Yes, you have to fix the roof in every case. You have to fix some of the drainage problems. We have to make the building accessible. We do have one tenant in there, which is the Thorold Museum, and they are storing their materials there. It's not their permanent solution, but that's fine. And I think the municipality has a responsibility to look after the upkeep of the shell of the building. You know, if there are some solutions to put an anchor tenant like the Thorold Theatre Group, that might make sense to move ahead with some of those improvements that are needed right away. It's not so much the cost of fixing things up. It's what if you don't? The asset continues to deteriorate. And we'll have a report come to council in, I believe, in June or July that looks at all of our buildings, and it'll be able to show what the condition is, and that will help council strategize on where to make these investments. But proposals like this, if they make sense and supported by the community, it makes sense to move them ahead of time.
Thank you. It just seems if we do those renovations, that maybe it brings other people in as well, right? We have an anchor, and then as they were mentioning about being the anchor there and then doing the scheduling, and if there are other tenants, you improve something and people will come, sort of thing. So, great, thank you. I saw, was it Robert, did you have your hand up online?
Actually, I was just kind of like going to second the motion that was tabled.
Well, it looks like you have the support of the committee, so I will leave that in the hands of Ms. Hanson.
Sorry, we would just need to call it to a vote, the motion.
All right, so I'm going to call the motion to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? And it's passed. Thank you again for the presentation. It's
Thank
great.
you guys
And
very much.
I hope to see the building renovated to a beautiful state so we can have groups such as yourself as our tenants.
We're very happy with your vote. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have item 6.3, the Niagara Trails maintenance. I will call Tim Bredman to present on Niagara Trails maintenance.
Hi there, thank you for having me. We did put a package. I don't know if everyone had that or not. It did go out to everybody, so I won't go too much into the history of what the Niagara Trail Maintenance Association is. Started in 2021 out of necessity to bring trail builders in the area together to build what was needed for the Canada Summer Games mountain bike course. That group was some of the best trail builders in this area, and we brought them together as one group to put that course together for the Canada Summer Games, as well as doing other trail work within the region, which is something that we've done some work here in Thorold, in the area by DQ House there. We did a couple of projects over there, and continued on with the Canada Games course, which was very successful. It was well received from the participants, coaches, and all those that attended. We also from there have done some other things within the community as far as trail work goes. We ran a successful mountain bike race, which included some of the trails within the Thorold area. So what we're looking to do, we're looking to create safe and sustainable trails for all those to use within the Niagara region. So we come to Thorold today asking if we could somehow put together an agreement to work with the city in maintaining those trails that you have and creating an environment for people to go and whether they're out for a hike, whether they're out for a bike ride, to go and enjoy those trails in a safe, sustainable way. We have Earth Day coming up. We've asked for a permit for the city of Thorold to do a cleanup in the DQ ruins area. So we're waiting on a response to that, and that's what we hope to do take our group, our members out to do a cleanup in that area. There's trails within that area that need work. There was some work done to the DQ Road trail that they put in last year, and has caused a lot of water to flood into those trails, and there's some areas in there that need to be repaired. We'd like to be the ones to do that. Other than that, that's kind of what we're here for, is to see if we can create some sort of an agreement with the city's staff to be the trail stewards of those areas.
Great, thank you. I'm going to leave the floor open to our committee. If there's any questions. Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So you would come in, I'm just not familiar with this. I talked with Paul Humber
Yes.
a lot, and love what he does and love what you guys do, but so I'm not familiar with this so much. So you would come in, are you looking for us to hire you to do this, or just give you permission? Or I'm new to this, so how would it work, or what are you looking at? How would it look to you?
No, we're a strictly volunteer group.
Okay.
So all we would probably ask for, or possibly ask for, is if there is anything that was needed to help with the repairs of those areas. Maybe some stone, maybe wood. It depends on the significance of the job that we do. What we would like to do in the areas that we feel need work done is create a map, create some of the areas that need to be fixed and how we would fix them, present it to staff to see that staff is satisfied with those type of fixes, And then from there, we do a lot of our own fundraising. We have 40 some odd volunteers right now. We've had up to 70 volunteers. They pay to be a volunteer, which helps us pay for our insurance. We have a liability insurance in case something were to happen while we're out there. But that would be basically what we'd like to do and how we'd like to do it. We'd be possibly asking for materials here or there, but we're quite fortunate that we have people that are willing to help sponsor some of these things that we do.
Oh, you did a great job at the Canada Games course. Everybody raved about it. So through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Holman, how is that done? Are we running into any union issues if they're out there doing that? Or it sounds great. Just wondering if there's any obstacles in our way to make that happen.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Last year, the City Council entered into a lease agreement with the Ontario Power Generation Group to put an easement on the trail that traverses the east side of Lake Gibson between Brock and the DQ House. And so the municipality has responsibility and liability for inspecting the trail on a regular basis. Niagara Trail Maintenance Group has offered to provide this service to us on a volunteer basis. And what they've asked for are things that we would normally provide, say, for Earth Day, and I believe their event is on Earth Day. Things like garbage bags and gloves and pickers and maybe some help moving some of the heavy logs, things like that. I know that Dave Baldoni from my staff has been in contact and is looking forward to working with them on that particular day. Perhaps, Dave, did I miss anything? If that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Yep, Jeff, you nailed it. We are going to work with this Niagara Trail Maintenance. We've agreed we would pick up their garbage at the end of their cleanup day. So everything is looking good for Earth Day.
So we already have an agreement. We don't need a motion, a formal motion today on anything. We're good to go.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it would be helpful to have an endorsement from this advisory committee that Niagara Trail Maintenance could perform these services on our behalf. Otherwise, it would be left to staff, and given the other priorities we have, it would be well down the list. This is an opportunity to take advantage of some volunteerism in the city at very little cost.
I'll let everybody else speak, but I wouldn't mind put a motion through at the end to endorse them.
Do we have any other further questions? Mr. Vandermoss.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Holman. Would they require WSIB coverage?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is a Stephanie Jarvis question, but my understanding is that we would go through a training program just to go through the safety, and if they're volunteers, they would be covered under the city's insurance. Work is normally performed by volunteers. I think that would be fine.
The reason I ask is because we ran into that years ago with the Millsport Park group. We had a member there that liked to do work in the park, and he was told that he couldn't because he didn't have compensation.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think because this is not a contract situation where they're being paid for their services, this would be something that would be completed under our supervision, under the city's supervision.
I see you with your hand up, Stephanie. Ms. Jarvis.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to provide some clarification. So there's actually two separate conversations that we're having here. So the first would be that the Earth Day event. So for that event, they are fully insured. We have the certificate of insurance from Niagara Trail Maintenance. That's more or less just a general event for garbage cleanup. That would be similar to what the city is doing for our own Earth Day, which we'll release those details shortly. The second piece is a more long-term agreement for them to be providing more robust maintenance, as they mentioned, on the trail. So that would include things like removing logs, providing drainage, and that I will have to check in with our insurance company to see what further requirements we may need. If there is any conflict with WSIB, as Mr. Vanderbass mentioned.
Thank you. Does that answer the questions? That's a yes. I did see Mr. Atkinson with his hand there.
Actually, those comments pretty much is what I was curious about. I mean, if there's chainsaw work, culverts need to be put in. I was just wondering who would do that, or big stuff. Rock slides. I don't know, but it's. I just can't see volunteers with garbage bags going out and moving that type of thing. They're looking after it. I've got no problem with it being done. I'm just wondering who would cover it.
Tim, who would be doing sort of that? Is that
would
your
be the
group?
stuff that would be what we would do. Whether it's you get a windstorm, there's trees on the trail, we could go in and remove those trees with city's permission. When there's wet spots and things like that, we'll go in there and redirect the trail properly. What's happening out in that area with all the water? So people, when they see a puddle, they go around the puddle. So now the trail is getting wider and wider. The trail should only be a tread of 18 inches, and 18 inches on either side where it's trimmed down, to stay away from poison ivy or ticks or things like that. As it gets wider and wider, it just becomes a big roadway, which is not really what you want for a trail. You want to keep it as tight as possible. But that would be something, whether it's deadfall, whether it's trimming, leaf blowing in the fall. We've found it very successful that we blow the leaves off the trails in the fall, and the trails come back quicker come springtime, and they're more usable at that point. They're, again, keeping it tight and not expanding the trail with people walking around it.
Okay, thanks. Do you have any further questions from the committee? I have just a simple question. When you mentioned redirecting water from the trail, are we allowed to redirect the water back into Lake Gibson? That's going to be through you, Ms. Hanson.
Through Mr. Chair, like each project will have to be dealt with on a kind of an individual basis. If it's minor maintenance, that's something that can be done easily, that's fine. If we're changing the flow, the direction, if we're speeding up the water might cause erosion problems, OPG will have something to say about that. And certainly from an environmental point of view, what we're really trying to create there is just a nice passive treed trail system that provides a linkage, not just for bicycles, off-road bicycles, but for walkers and people that want to enjoy it, stop and take advantage of the nature through there. So you're absolutely right. We're not trying to make it into a roadway. There's other opportunities for that. But as the use increases, the amount of maintenance will increase as well. And we, first and foremost, want to make it safe. So some of the larger projects might require, like bridges and things like that, might require additional permits, whether it be from OPG or the Conservation Authority.
Thank you. Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, I'd just like to put a motion forward to endorse Niagara Trails maintenance for both the scopes that Stephanie talked about, the Earth Day and the broader scope of our trail maintenance, volunteering to keep that. So I don't know how you would word that, Stephanie, but I'd like to endorse them for both projects.
Do I have a seconder on the motion? Mr. Woods? All right, do we vote? All in favor? Yeah. All in favor. All opposed? Nay, the motion passed. All right, thank you again for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so correspondence. Do we have any I don't see any correspondence on our agenda, so I will move into section 8, our committee business, proposed working groups. Is this where there was something that came up regarding a additional subcommittee to be created for the city's website? Yes. Okay, so my memory is correct. Okay, just 1 second here. This was at the end. Okay, so the subcommittee was brought to us by Jeff. Is he online? Is he here today?
I am, and I can speak to it if you'd like.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I am putting forth a motion for is to create a working group to improve our website. The homepage and the internal website links that follow it, as well as external links to other websites. If you wanted to refer to the one pager I've provided, Sydney kindly provided it as page 16 in the agenda package, if you want to follow along. So essentially, this working group would focus on enhancing the awareness and better promoting the parks, trails, and recreation opportunities within via the website. And to be clear, our website isn't terrible. I've in my previous life in government, I worked a lot on improving federal government websites, and they tended to prominently feature the minister in a photo op. We're not having to deal with those kinds of issues, thankfully, but there is room for improvement, and I would say that the website content in particular and all the links are in need of a refresher. And so what I'm proposing is a working group comprised of 3 or 4 of us committee members, myself included. We would dedicate extra time and effort for approximately 6 months. And then the goal would be to then provide recommendations back to the committee on improvements to the website. And importantly, the working group's effort would support the specific recommendations in our master plan. Recommendation number 8 in the master plan speaks to using the renewed city website to promote the availability of opportunities to participate in all types of recreational activity. And relatedly, recommendation number 9 in the master plan talks about developing a one-stop search-based information portal to all program activities and communities. I would suggest, I don't know how familiar my fellow committee members are with the website content, but there is room for improvement there. And my sense is that, like so many websites, the people who designed it and implemented it got it up and running. But a good website requires ongoing maintenance, and it needs updated information, and that would apply to our website as well. So just a little more detail before I open it up for discussion. The kind of work we would want to do in this, before we are in a position to provide any recommendations to the committee, the kind of work we would do would be to discuss with city staff the experience of the users, the feedback they're receiving. That would include looking at website analytics to determine any knowledge gaps or feedback received from visitors to the website. As I said, we would do a link audit to determine where there are broken links or where we're linking to content that is no longer relevant or no longer as relevant as new information we want to provide to visitors, like community theater, for example. And all of this work would have to reflect website design principles, including functionality, navigability, and visual hierarchy, and all of the important elements of good website design. So with that in mind, if you're interested in joining me for the next several months in this working group, I encourage you to put forth your name to Kieran and or myself in the next couple of weeks. And beyond that, you know, I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
I actually have a point. I believe, I apologize to everyone, I sit on too many committees, but I'm not sure which one, but the City of Thorold is working on a grant proposal to upgrade our website through Ken, or Economic Development. So he might be the key to you might be a great asset for him. But I do know that was a proposal they had spoken at one of our committees in the last month, that they were looking to do just what you're saying. So he might be a great partner for you.
Thank you, Ms. Coppola. We're going to leave the floor open. Is there any questions, comments, volunteers? Anyone for Mr. Woods, please?
I don't mind volunteering to help with the working group. I visit the Thorold website probably at least every day. And I've noticed when you go to search for the city's parks and information, you get a Google map that just says not available. So any sort of improvement in that structure would be fantastic. I do want to ask, like towards the city staff, like what does your IS department look like? Like, is it just small scale in terms of they're working with your inner office ability? But I know, because I work for the city of Niagara Falls, I know we're completely different than what Thorold's like. So I know we have a dedicated staff that works with our website and constantly updates it, but there's multiple working groups within that have access to that website. So is there anybody in terms of the parks, trails, and recreation area of our city that has access and can make those updates themselves?
I see Ms. Jarvis with her hand up.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we do have a individual with the city, our community relations liaison, Megan McRae. She essentially guides all of our website planning and media, but she is not ultimately responsible for providing the content or uploading the information. That is department specific. So it would be our department. So myself and Dave, who would be primarily responsible for updating the data and the content of the website. So certainly a working group would be really great to get some insight and to update our website a little bit. I can't remember, I think it was Jeff who had mentioned previously, it was one of those instances where everything kind of got up and running, and then over time, perhaps some things need to be updated. Specific to the question about the map, we actually did just get the capability to hopefully launch that feature. Previously, we did not have that capability, so I am working on that currently as of a couple weeks ago. So hopefully that can get updated in the next few weeks. And I think a working group is a great idea. The one thing I would just caution with the working group is that there are really two interfaces in the website. So there's the primary website, which is the City of Thorold's website, which provides all of our main content and information sources. And then there's our customer interface, which is connected to our ActiveNet software, which is what manages all of our recreation programming, bookings, and facilities. And so that is, as you mentioned, one of the links that go to the website, but they are in fact two separate websites. It's just a link to make you think that you're still on the website, but it's actually a separate customer interface. And I would just caution that program and that software has very specific capabilities that it would just be good to get some staff insight into terms of what we can and can't do on that website. That's all I would just suggest. And then in terms of this working group, I think looking at the website's a great idea, but just making sure it's specific to the recreation and culture portion of the website. If you're looking at a broader scope of analysis, and I would encourage you to follow up with Marcia as far as what Ken's working on in his project. Just my 2 cents, but I think it's a great idea.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Do they also handle the swimming lessons and whatnot for registration? Is that
it does.
also...
It handles swimming lessons, all of our programs. Again, specifically city facilities and programs. Most of we are unique in our municipality in that we have so many partnerships. And so, for example, the Thorold Senior Center, the Thorold Community Activities Group, while we do promote them on our website, they are essentially just links to their website because they are, at the end of the day, not the City of Thorold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, great, thank you. Is there any other questions? Volunteers? Okay, so this was a motion that's being created by Jeff. So do we have a seconder on the motion? Mr. Woods. And I'll call for a vote. Are we all in favor? Favor? And I see yes, and the motion will be passed. So I'm going to move on to the section 9, the roundtable discussion. Is there anything anyone has burning that they just need to get off? Mr. Councillor Sentence.
I don't know when we want to deal with this, but the TCAG is proposing to build 2 beach volleyball courts on their own, on their dime, at the facility, and working with the city to figure out building them, where it can be done, how it can be done, potentially moving the bocce courts somewhere because that's where they would go. So they asked if we could look at this and recommend, if not this time, because I know I'm throwing at you now, maybe next time, the idea that we're going to look into building 2 courts, and it's to no cost to the city other than an in-kind and help in that fashion. So if we could think about that, I don't know if we need to do that right away, but they are looking at doing something in the near future that wouldn't cost the city anything. So if we could put that on the docket for next time, I think that would be great to think about and discuss, and maybe have a motion next time to endorse that if we want to or not.
So are they just looking for like a concept design or something just to see if it's feasible, where they could put it, not affect? Like,
well, I believe Dave had
already located it.
Dave Baldoni had not set in stone design, but he had a design that where it could go, potentially how it could go, and nothing set in stone. Okay. They just need permission to be able to do it from the city. So I think it's a pretty good idea. Costs the city nothing, and it enhances and adds a little bit more, which is our mandate here to the parks, trails, and rec. But
maybe we pick up some players down from the ball hockey.
There you go.
Well, they've got 10 or 15 courts down there. It looks like they're fairly busy at the regular throughout the summer.
Well, the bonus of that is they have so the rec coordinator there, Jen Doothwaite, runs a very successful indoor and outdoor program already. So she's pretty much has who she has and has everything in place to be able to do it. So she believes she can run a very successful group. But
this would be the second beach volleyball courts that we had in the city of Thorold. When I was a kid, we had them at From 54.
Remember that? Yeah.
I remember being a young kid, about 10 years old, and my friends with Carlo and Mario, and we would sub in and play on the league teams.
They were a little
as 10 and 12-year-olds, and
I don't know if they were official size. They were a little tough. Yeah, I remember that.
It was a good time. I can tell you that. So
I don't know, Jeff, if you want to put anything in, or is that okay if I put it that way? Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion points for a round table? Is there anyone online? Mr. Woods.
I just wanted to possibly venture into looking at maybe the city look at revitalizing Memorial Park. I took a look at a lot of the aerial views recently, and I found ones from 1934 that showed the original park and how it was built and designed, and it looks so much better than what it looks like right now. I visit that park probably 3 times a week, and having more additional walking paths within it and revitalizing the stair concepts that go up to the top tier there, and just repurposing it would bring a lot more people to that area, and there's a lot more families that have moved into that area of Thorold, and I think it's something that should be looked at. I know it's probably going to be a huge cost to do something like that, but if anyone's seen the original photographs of the Memorial Park when it was built, it surefire blows out what's there right now. So I thought maybe we could look at it and see about putting it back to what it was built for.
Maybe we can circulate some of those photos to the group just to have
I can get some and I'll email them off to everybody.
Perfect. Okay. Any other discussion points?
I have one. Sorry, my hand's up again.
No worries. Go ahead, Ms. Coppola.
Marcia's fine. Thank you.
I'm trying to keep it formal. We're in a formal setting, so I'm trying my best.
I never use Ms. Coppola. Anyway, so last month's Events Advisory Committee, Linda had made a suggestion that the Mayor's Committee newsletter possibly be created. It's to let everyone on each committee know what action items or action plans or events that we're working on, so that we can work hand in hand and prevent some overlap. So I think we'll touch back on that later in the month, but it's just to let everyone know. And I think it was a good idea because, again, sometimes there is overlap between our groups, and it'd be nice to know what the other ones are working on.
Noted. Great. Okay. Last call on discussion items. Going once, twice. Well, I will call this